It's a landmark order, no doubt. The Supreme Court has sent out a very strong message against bulldozer justice in the nation. And the Supreme Court has said that authorities cannot demolish any property merely because of convictions or for criminal accusations. Laying down these new guidelines on the issue, the court has ordered that authorities have to issue a 15-day notice before taking any action related to any kind of demolition. Let's get perspective, legal perspective on this. And for that, senior advocate of the Supreme Court, Dushyant Dave, is joining us on Business at 9. Mr. Dave, thank you very much for making the time. And it's an important day for the kind of importance that is associated with this judgment coming through from the Supreme Court. The question is this judgment completely going to halt bulldozer justice, or rather injustice? And will this ruling actually deter overzealous officials? And more importantly, Mr. Dave, do you see the political class abiding by the ruling, both in letter and in spirit?
The judgment of the Supreme Court given today, stopping or prohibiting permanently bulldozer justice is a landmark judgment. And the judges are very conscious that this power has been misused by the party in power, especially the BJP at the center and the state government, to target a particular community. Judges have therefore come down very heavily and have laid down, very specific guidelines that this power cannot be used under any circumstances to, demolish homes of either people who are, alleged criminals, who are facing criminal trials, or who have even been convicted, for any reason. Judges have not stopped there. They have said very categorically that in any violation of this judgment will amount to contempt of court. They have also held that the officials concerned will be held personally responsible. Now, I think this judgment will, definitely send shivers down the spine of every official in the country who, so far has acted at the behest of the political masters to indulge in this kind of unconstitutional acts. So I have no doubt that this judgment will be implemented in letter and spirit, and it will open a new, vista of, jurisprudence. It has opened a new vista of removing injustices from society, and certainly it has removed, this community-targeted actions on the part of certain political party.
So, Mr. Dave, you've taken us point by point about the kind of observations the court has made in this ruling as well. You yourself are calling what was happening unconstitutional. Now, the question is the way ahead. You said this is going to pave the way for jurisprudence in the future as well, but you think this ruling is going to open doors for litigation by those who feel, illegitimately targeted by the state? Is there a possibility that we are going to see litigation that leads to compensation for them?
Compensation has to be given. In fact, in one case in Assam, the Guwahati High Court has given compensation of 25 lakh rupees to each of the persons who have been affected. So I don't see why compensation should not be given. I mean, what has happened is not only unconstitutional, but it's a darkest blot on a democracy like India. We pride ourselves with a very vibrant democracy, and then we take law into our own hands and go and destroy people's homes. I mean, do you realize what kind of serious consequences it has on the families? If one person is guilty of having committed a crime, are you going to visit the consequences on the entire family like this for lifetime to come? So I think it's time now that the courts start, entertaining applications for compensation and give really huge compensation. So that, the officials, and it should be recovered from the officials who implemented these illegal orders, so that, it sends a clear-cut message that you can't take law into your own hands. I mean, this is definitely one of the worst things that has happened since independence. I don't think even the British government ever indulged in this kind of violence against a particular community. Why should a democratic India allow this even for a second?
But Mr. Dave, many aggrieved parties would argue that justice delayed is justice denied. The judgment and these guidelines, they've come several years after the term bulldozer justice has become so much an integral part of our political lingo. So the question is Isn't this delayed? Why do we have this judgment only now?
Well, it is better to be late than never, as it says. But I must say that one of the first orders was passed, and I must say extraordinarily, at my request by Chief Justice Ramana's bench when the demolition started in Jahangirpuri. And we did not even have a petition before the court. On oral mentioning, Chief Justice Ramana's bench directed status quo order and stopped the Jahangirpuri demolitions. So that was almost 2.5 years ago. So I think it's good that the judgment finally has come. The guidelines are being laid down. Yes, there has been delay and it has been abused. I mean, there are many such things which are happening. Take, for example, love jihad. That's another thing which is being indulged where, the families are being arrested, the boys are being arrested. Even when a girl falls in love with a, boy from the other community, without any examination, the police goes on arresting not only the boy, but the family members. They are being forced to, leave their homes. Their homes are being targeted. What is happening to our country? This is not India that, our forefathers fought, for almost 100 years to gain us the freedom. They sacrificed for freedom. And we are taking away freedom from a sizable section of the society. You can't do that. So I think, let's forget it whether time has been taken or not. But it's good that judgment has finally come. And at least from today onwards, no person or no family will have to shed tears on account of demolition of their homes.
Mr. Dave, the Supreme Court has made again a very pointed statement about what falls under the executive and what falls under the judiciary. And well, the question is, the Constitution has been enforced for more than 7 decades now. The principle of separation of power that has been clearly spelled out under the Constitution. So can you shed some light on what had emboldened the executive to resort to such tools in the first place?
Yes, the executive has been emboldened since 2014 because the judiciary has become weaker and weaker. You know what is happening in judiciary. They have deferred to Prime Minister Modi's all actions or inactions, I would say, very easily. And that is what is really, unfortunately, the Supreme Court, which has an obligation and duty under the Constitution to keep check and balance both on the executive and the parliament, has failed to do so in the last few years. And that is why the executive has become emboldened to take law into its own hands. So finally, I'm so happy that the bench of Justice Gavai and Justice Vishwanathan have spoken. And I must say there are many judges now in the Supreme Court who are speaking up and really passing strong orders against the executive today. So there is a pushback by the judiciary to an extent. And I must therefore salute these judges that they are standing up for us, the citizens, and giving us some justice, which was eluding us for last almost 10 years because of weak chief justices. So I'm so happy that finally, the judges are now are doing what they really should have never have allowed the government to do in the first instance.
But would you say, Mr. Dave, that there are certain pitfalls when a government enjoys absolute majority? Is this something that one should or perhaps get used to expect? Because often they interpret their mandate and it's done with little restraint. So does today's judgment reaffirm the supremacy of the court? And is it going to give people confidence to assert their fundamental rights, as it were?
Well, strong governments, whether it was Mrs. Gandhi's or Mr. Modi's, generally do not have much respect for the Constitution. I mean, they may speak in the name of the Constitution, but they hardly have respect for the Constitution, much less the fundamental rights of the citizens. And civil liberties for them is not very important, which is a matter of great concern for us as a nation, because millions of people sacrifice their lives to get us freedom in the freedom struggle. And we are bartering it away very easily in today's times. So I am really happy that this is happening today, and judiciary is therefore reminding the executive that we will not allow you to now take law into your own hands. So I think it's a good thing. And, I am sure after this, the executive will think several times before acting illegally as it has been.
Well, they speak about landmark judgments. This one is probably going to go down in the annals of time. Mr. Dave, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on what has grabbed the biggest headlines in news today.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.